Hey guys, what's up? It's Raymmar, and in this episode of WordPress Wednesday, we're going back to the basics. I'm going to show you how I set up and configure a basic WordPress install, and then show you how to build a simple website in just about an hour. If you got any questions about the process or want to learn more about how we can help you with your WordPress website, check the links in the description below, and let's go ahead and get this started. All right. So this is a base WordPress install, right? Like if you just install WordPress at ground zero, you end up with something that looks a lot like this. The first thing you can do is this little customize button in the top navigation bar. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of walk you through WordPress. I know some of you guys might be familiar with it, but I'm going to walk you just through some basic navigation options here. So you'll always have this admin bar. I have a little toolbar up here, or I have a little browser extension that lets me get rid of that admin bar. That's something you guys might want to consider. I don't know, from a design standpoint, I like being able to turn that off sometimes. So we're going to go right into customize. This is probably the last time we'll go into this customize screen. WordPress is doing a lot more with this customize section, but I don't use it a whole lot for the installs that we do.
You want us to do everything you're doing?
You can keep up with whatever you'd like. Again, you know, at whatever speed we go, we're going to try to just run through that whole process. So if you can keep up, you can definitely go through and do as much of this as you can. That's the goal. So site identity, right? If you want to change the name of the site, so we're going to call this Acme Biz is what we came up with as the name. All right. And this tagline is going to be the best fake website you've ever seen. Right, and so essentially what that is, the site title and the tagline, that will display in certain places. You can also set a icon, right? So that icon will show up. This is not the same as a favicon, right? Which will show up in the browser. The tab, right? You see this little image here. This is a camera, and YouTube's got their little play button, and you know you've got an icon. So we'll set that here in a second. I'm just going to click Save and Publish here. Again, I don't do much else in this customize screen. If you guys want to go through and play with that, that's fine. So if you click on the Acme Biz, right, you see where the Acme Biz now is? That changed my website name. That said Raymmar Tirado's blog at the top, right? So we just changed where that's called. So if you need to change that again, you can go into Appearance and Customize, right? So everything that has to do with the visual appearance of your site is going to be in this Appearance button. When you're in the back end of the website, which you can get to through clicking that Acme Biz, back and forth, that'll get you from the front end to the back end, right? So I'm just clicking that little top left button. I'm going from the front end of the website to the back end of the website. Every time I'm in the back end of the website, I'm going to have this navigation on the left here. This is where I get around. So I've got my dashboard, which shows me a bunch of these little tiles that really don't do a whole lot for me. You could have all sorts of different widgets installed here. Then I have my posts. Again, we talked about different post types, right? So my posts in this context are going to be blog articles, right? Below that, I have media. Then I have pages. Again, pages are post types, but in this context, they're going to be actual structural pages of the website. Then we'll have comments. Obviously, we don't have comments on this. Plugins is the other thing. So everything is available right there on the left-hand side. We can see we've got a Kismet set up. That's a comment blocking plugin, a spam blocking plugin that we're going to configure. So let's go in and let's get the theme installed, right? So anything that has to do with the visual appearance of the website appears where? Does anybody remember? On the left-hand side under Appearance, right? So everything having to do with the visual appearance of the website is going to show up on this tab. We're going to go to Themes. And then there's a couple different places where you can look for themes, right? If you add new theme here, it'll take you to a screen where you can then search a bunch of different WordPress themes, right? When you're looking for a theme, you should definitely, you're going to want to look for a couple things. First of all, you're going to want to read the reviews. How many people are using it? How many people have downloaded it? I would look into some of the compatibility, right? Sometimes they'll show you what plugins, et cetera, they work with, but you want to know specifically that it's going to be, first of all, responsive, and you're going to want something that's well reviewed, well downloaded, well used, unless it's by a reputable author, right? Because maybe a reputable author just downloaded a new theme or created a new theme, and they don't have the reviews yet. But In this instance, we're just going to upload one. So I have a file here. So I have the theme as a zip file saved here, right? So if you have a theme in a zip format, you may install it by uploading it here. You just click choose file and then click install now. It's going to take it a second to process. And then it'll give me a box showing me what themes I have available, and then we'll activate that specific theme. Come on, interwebs. That's what I was worried about with a lot of people on the internet at once. Okay, so installing theme from file uploaded. It says unpacking the thing, installing the theme installed successfully, live preview. I don't need to live preview it because I know what it looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and activate it. So where we had a different look on the front, what we're going to look at now is I'm going to show you this Acme Biz Now website is set up in a completely different look and feel than we just had, right? So when you come in, you have a configuration panel. Almost all like high-level themes, any of these multi-purpose themes will have some kind of theme panel option like this. And then you see on my left-hand side, right here, it's hovered on Enfold. You see our Enfold selected. That's where I'll get to this theme option. So select a page. We don't have any pages built, so I'm going to skip this. I am going to upload a logo because I created a logo for this project. So let's go into logo files. I'm going to upload two logos here. One for a color and one for what we'll call transparency, and that's going to be a white version of the logo. So just in case I want to create a nice big hero image and make my header invisible, I can have a white version of the logo and a colored version of the logo. So I'll show you guys both those setups. So let's go white and color, open. So to upload a file, it's fairly simple, just like you upload any other file, right? I just click on upload files. I picked the files that I wanted to click and I clicked upload. And now I go into my media library and there they are. All right, so I'm going to click that logo. And now we see that the logo's in my slot, right? Favicon, this is the icon that's in the browser tab right next to the name of the website, right? So I'm going to upload this. I created a Favicon file. Again, upload file, select.
What's Favicon?
It's an icon. It's a favicon is the name for that icon that is on the left of the tabs. And the address bar on the top, you see up here. So like YouTube's got the little play button, Unsplash has this little camera icon, these guys got a little star, people put their little logo, whatever it is. So it's this little guy here, and we watch as I hit use, and then if I click save, when I go back out to my front end and I refresh that page, I should now have, you see I have a little icon in my tab there, and I have my logo here, right? So now we've got a logo on our website, we've got a blank page, and we're making progress. Any questions so far? If you're going to install Google Analytics, which is something I would recommend, we're not going to cover setting up or installing Google Analytics. You would just track, they give you, when you set up your Google Analytics account, they'll give you a tracking code. They'll say paste this into your website. You would just come and drop it here. Most of these modern themes, most of these current themes have a place where you can just drag and drop that Google Analytics code inside of there, and it's that simple to set it up. The next thing we have is a general layout inside of this theme specifically. This tells you whether or not the screen is whether the website's going to be constrained by some kind of box layout or whether it's going to stretch the full width of the screen. That just goes down to basic aesthetics. I like the website to span the full width, so I'm going to use this full width area. I won't actually mess with any of this, the stretch layout. I'll leave that the same. Unless you're looking for a very specific look, I don't know that you need to mess with any of that. Next thing is setting colors, right? So a lot of these themes, again, from a front end, we're not developers, we're not creating these style sheets ourselves, so we're not picking these colors. We have a really simple ability to just kind of come and click and pick the colors that we might want. And sometimes these basic ones might be all you need, right? From a color standpoint. Let's go, yeah, splash red, there we go. And we'll make the splash color the logo color. Boom. So here's what the site looks like now. You can see the highlight colors are all green, etc. Once I click this and save all changes, it's going to use this hint of red theme, and now our site's going to start looking, all right, so grayed it out. You see over here on the right, it's using this color now instead of the green. Again, we're still very basic because we don't have any content, we don't have any pages set up. We're just kind of setting the structure for the themes. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on colors. Again, you can play with all these color settings. You can go ad nauseum setting up these colors and playing with the different variations. From a design standpoint, you can get as creative as you want as you create that stuff. The next thing you have are some settings for your headings, right? So we can pick how we want these headings to look, whether we want the logo set up on the left, right, etc., separators. Do we want secondary menus? Do we want to show the breadcrumbs, right? So if we look here, this area here is called breadcrumbs, right? So it allows people to follow along with you on your website. It gives them some kind of navigational structure. So you can select whether you want these to show, how you want them to show up, all inside of here. Again, the different themes you're using might have different options panels, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time running through all of the nuances of all these different sidebar panels, but they're all fairly similar to navigate, right? A lot of these themes are kind of copying each other in the way that they set these up, and they're fairly user-friendly, okay? So you can just come, and most of it is just picking from the settings here, right? So do you want a slim header, a large header, or a custom pixel value? So do you want that height to be a certain value? Maybe you have a big logo and you want a taller header. You know, you can adjust some of those right there. So we'll just go with a large as default. Again, save changes. You're always going to want to make sure you're saving changes as you go through every part of the process here.
Is that the header where you would put in, for instance, home, bio, books, calendar, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's where the navigation will go. That's not where we're setting up the navigation. I will show you how we set up the navigation in the next step, actually, after we create the pages real quick. So if you have a Twitter account or social accounts, you can set them up here, right? These will display the icons on the front end, so I'll show you where those go as well. Save changes. Oh, this needs to be Facebook. There it is. So then in my header, right, I can pick extra elements right here. I can, it says no social icons, but I'm going to display them in the main header area is one of my options. So now if I save changes, we see that right now in my navigation, right next to the home and sample page, there's no social icons. If I just go ahead and refresh this page now, I'm going to get my Twitter and Facebook that I just put in there on that header, right? Let's jump into, I think from a standpoint of configuring everything we're going to configure on this back end without just diving in and styling everything, I want to actually create some page structures now so we can have some content, and then we can come back to some of this stuff. So to create pages, again, everywhere you navigate is going to be on the left side of the navigation bar here, right? So we'll go to pages. You can also, from the front end, you see this little admin bar we talked about at the top. You see the little new button right here? It gives you an option to create a new post, new media, new page right from the front end of the website. So if I'm on the site here and I want to create a new page, I can open this in a new tab, and right from here, I have the opportunity to create, now I've got a blank page template here, right? So we're going to start with a home page. We'll click the advanced layout editor because that gives me my front end controls. But it's that simple to create a page. We'll just hit publish. We're going to run through 4 of these real quick, and then we'll come back and actually configure the pages. So now I'm going to add a new page, right? So we're going to click at the top, add new page. This is going to be the about page. Click the advanced layout editor. There's no parent, right? We can set a parent page, or we can pick the template. Right now there's no different templates to pick from, so we're just going to leave that blank.
What's the parent page?
A parent page is like if we're creating a child page. So let's say you had a services page, and then underneath that you had a page for each of the different services. The services page would be the parent page. The pages underneath that would be a child page. And so from a menu structure standpoint, you would want to then tell it, hey, this is a child page of this, so that it would lay out in the menu. We'll create a child page just to show you guys how that'll work. All right, so let's publish that. Now we have an about page. Now there's no content on these pages, but we have them. This is why creating a wireframe ahead of time and knowing what pages you need to create is a good idea, so that when you come in here you can create all those pages, you create the framework of your website, and then you start putting stuff into those pages. You know, when you come in and you try to create something and you don't have an idea of what that hierarchy of the website looks like, that's when you can start getting into trouble, because you'll create a page and you're like, well, I don't know if this needs to go on that page, and then, or you might have content and you don't have a page for it. And so kind of thinking some of that stuff through before you start jumping into this would be smart. I just know that every website has a home page, it has an about page, it has a contact us page, and it has a blog. Essentially, you know, almost every website has those 4 pages. Okay, so now we've got an about page. Let's add a new one. Let's add a contact page. Advanced Layout Editor again. Go ahead and publish. That's it. One more is going to be what? The blog page, right? Add new blog. Publish. All right. So if I go to my front now, you see how I have more items in my navigation structure here, but I haven't told this thing what I want to have in my navigation structure. So we're gonna go ahead and edit that here in a second. I want to install a couple of the plugins though before we go into setting up those pages, because we're going to need some of the plugin functionality in those pages. So plugins, if you're not familiar with them, plugins add functionality to WordPress. They allow you to add a specific functionality, whether it's a members only section, whether it's a forum, whether it's forms that people can fill out, or social sharing plugin, any number of things. The functionality comes through plugins. So again, where does that show up in the back of my admin screen? On the left-hand side, right? We got a thing that says plugins right under appearance. So we'll click that. And I think all the plugins we're going to install today are free. There is paid versions of one of them, but I think they're all free that we're going to use and install today. The first thing we're going to jump on is an SEO plugin, right? So we want to get Yoast SEO. And actually, I think they changed the name of it recently, but it still should show up. There we go. Install now. 1 million+ active installs, right? So when you're vetting plugins, you see this over here. It's got 0 stars with 800+ installs. I don't know how good any of these are, but I know that if something's got 1 million+ active installs, it's probably pretty decent. You know, if it's got a 4-star rating. And so I'm not saying that. Are you sure you want to install this plugin? Okay. No, thanks. All right, it is. Okay. What it was asking me right there was to create a backup copy. You know, because when you install a plugin, that's a prime time to potentially break your website, because you don't know if the plugin's compatible with your theme, right? So that's why it's important to vet the plugin and vet the theme, so that you know they're both using best practices WordPress, so that installing one is not going to break the other, right? Because that's one of the most common places where WordPress breaks, is in configurations between the plugins and the themes. Mostly because they're developed by different people, right? So at some point they have to talk to each other. And so if there's anything lost in translation with how they talk to each other, with how they were built, sometimes that's where those major plugins come.
Custom theme, how can you determine if they'll be compatible?
So that's why it's about vetting the theme, right? It's about making sure that it's a quality theme developer, that they have a good reputation, and that they're using WordPress best practices.
What would happen if you installed it and it wasn't compatible?
Sometimes it just breaks the way the site renders. So if you install a theme or a plugin that are not compatible, it may stop your website from loading. It may just break. It might just break a little visual element, and you may not really notice it. You may just end up with a little thing that looks out of place every once in a while, right? So there's a broad spectrum of ways that it could affect the site. Maybe it doesn't work when you hit the submit button on a form, or there's a lot of little things, but you'll pretty quickly notice if there's a problem with those configurations. So, okay, installing plugin. We're going to activate that plugin. You have to activate every plugin after you install them. So now you'll see we have 2 plugins here, and instantly that plugin was telling me there's 3 issues with my SEO, right? So this plugin is really good for kind of giving you walkthroughs with the things that you're doing. Again, it's very low-level SEO advice, but it's happening as you use the platform itself. Let me look at my list of plugins here so I can remember which other ones we're installing. Gravity Forms. Add new. This one I'm going to upload myself, because we have a developer's license for this plugin, and I'm not sure. Let's see if they have the free version here. There's usually a free version, and then you can update, but I'm not sure if they have the free version available all the way. What we're looking, no, I don't see it. What we're looking for, this is a form plugin, so I'm going to click the upload button at the top there. Right, so just like I create a new page, just like I do anything, almost always if I'm going to add new, there's an element right here. If I'm going to add a new page, add a new post, in this case, upload a plugin, those user interface elements are typically in the same place, so take note of that, right, when you're going to upload or create something new. So I'm going to choose the file again from my Gravity Forms. Again, this is a zipped file that I downloaded from the site, and we'll click install. This plugin is going to allow me to create forms, allow me to get people to submit feedback. We're going to create a contact form on the contact page. Again, we'll go ahead and activate it. This is probably going to ask me to validate my key, so it's asking me to register it to receive access to automatic updates and support. I don't think we need to do that for this, but there's a key. You would just copy that key and paste it in there. Again, I think Gravity Forms is available by free. You just have to download the plugin from the developer's website. And then they have a paid upgrade if you want all the premium features. That's how a lot of these plugins work in WordPress, is that there's a free version that allows you some of the basic functionality. And then as you start using it more, then you pay for some of that added functionality. So let's add one more. And let's see if I can just download it from here. SummaMe is a social, yeah, this is the one, install. Okay. SummaMe is a really easy to use social integrations plugin that also offers a lot of other functionality. It's free to use. Their basic version, I think it's $30 a month if you want like the pro stuff. But for this one, we'll just use some of the basic stuff. And I'm going to leave this one to configure to the end because that might take a little bit more time. But you see it's prompting me right here. Click here to set up SummaMe. I just pull this little tab out, and we'll walk through some of that here in a second. So now we have plugins installed, right? We have pages created. We still have our website here, but it's kind of hard to navigate our website. Even though we have all the elements we want in our homepage, it's still hard to kind of get around yet because we haven't told WordPress where everything lives yet. We created pages, but we haven't told WordPress our blog is going to be on this page, our homepage goes here, right? So right now, this is just kind of pulling all the information we've created and trying to compile it, but let's go in now to set up a menu structure. So menus are available, and there's a couple options that are available from the front end, again, as a drop down here from your admin bar. Menus is one of them. Widgets is another one, which you see this side section here where the sidebar is. This is where we'll set up sidebars and widgets. And widgets allow you to use and add little functionality inside your website. So we'll show you how to set that up here in a second too. Okay, Acme Biz, we're going to go to menus. And I like to set up a menu early on just because it allows me to navigate the website. It allows me to, like I might create some sample pages or some testing pages. And if you don't do that, what you see at the top here is it has all the pages up top here, even this sample page that was created that we're not going to use. So what we'll do is in this menus, we're going to create a new menu here. Menu name, we'll call this main nav for main navigation. I'm going to click this just to get rid of this here. How do I get rid of that?
Could you explain the difference between widgets and plugins?
So a plugin, yeah, and just for the camera, I'll repeat that so they may have not heard the question, but the difference between plugins and widgets. A plugin adds functionality to the site. A widget just allows you to display content in the site in a different place. So a plugin might have a widget so that you can use the functionality of that plugin in a certain place on your website, right? So let's say it's a form or a calendar, right? A calendar was brought up earlier. Let's say I want to display certain events. The calendar plugin might have a widget that I can display on a page, and then I tell that widget what information to pull. So I may pull all events that are networking related on a page where I'm talking about networking. So I have my networking page, now I have my events widget that's pulling information from this plugin that's showing me events only from a networking feed, right? So home, about, contact, blog. right? So we highlighted those. These are our pages. They'll be available again on the left, and then we'll click Add to Menu. On the left-hand side here, you have the ability to add posts, custom links, categories, pages, etc. to your menu. If ever you find anything that's not showing up on your admin screen, or like let's say you're doing some searching and they give you some instructions and you don't find that option on your screen. Up here where it says Screen Options, hang on, I got to get rid of this. I don't know why it's not getting rid of that. Let me click Save and refresh the screen. I got to get rid of that. There we go. Come on.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. Like, I mean, that's really annoying that they do that. I'm going to actually deactivate that plugin for a second because that's really annoying, actually. Okay. So I don't know if you guys saw what I just did there, but I went to the plugin and I just clicked the deactivate button. And so now if I go back to that menus page and refresh it, it got rid of that functionality. So again, a plugin is just an extra piece of code that plugs into that site that you can turn on and off. If you ever have problems, let's say you do, going back to the theme conflict issue, if you ever do break your site, you install a plugin, the best way to troubleshoot is just to go in and turn off your plugins one at a time, or turn off all your plugins and then turn them all back on one at a time and see which one breaks the site. Then you at least know, okay, it's this plugin causing issues. So that's a way to troubleshoot. We're going to set up this navigation. We're going to set up the order. So we're going to put our home first, about page second, put it here, blog, and then contact. So we'll go ahead and, again, save the menu. But we forgot one thing. Typically, you have to assign where that menu shows up. So you see where it says Menu Settings here? It's going to say automatically add new top-level menus to this, top-level pages to this menu. I don't like to do that. I don't like anything being added automatically to my menus. Some people like to use that. That's a personal preference. I'm going to designate that this is the Enfold main menu. There's other places where I can have menus in themes. So sometimes you can create multiple menus. Maybe there's one in the footer. Maybe there's a separate one you want to use on a separate page. So you may end up having 3 or 4 or 5, 6 different menus inside of here. So we're telling this one right now it's going to be the main menu. So we'll click Save. Again, we'll go back out to my front page, and we should see now that our menu is cleaned up, our navigation is cleaned up. Now we only have Home, About, Blog, Contact, and our social icons. All right? So now we're starting to get a lot closer to a website. Now we're going to make a big jump because we're actually going to tell this thing that the home page is a certain home page. So we're going to go back to our theme panel settings, right? Which again is in our left-hand side. Now that we have our pages set up, we can tell this where our front page is, right? So this says front page settings. We're going to say our front page is the home page, and the blog page is going to be the blog page. So where do you want to display the blog? Now it's set up on the blog. Save all changes. Now if we go back out to the front end, it should get rid of that blog post on the page. And now we've got our, boom. Now we've got our first basic page, the About page. Everything should be set up now so that we've got a basic shell for a website. Again, our blog's now set up, and we have the first post there. At this point, you have a shell for a website, right? At this point, you have your home page. All we need to do now is start styling and putting content into these containers. So this is how I like to run through from a early standpoint, because now I've got my basic framework. I have my wireframe that I typically work off of when I build websites. And so now I know, okay, just feed me content, client, and now the next step is really just organizing the content on the website and laying that information out, which is what we're going to jump into now. Are there any questions on any of this stuff? I know we're running through a lot of things here, so any questions on this stuff here? Nope. Okay. Let's start with the home page. Okay. From the top here, now we have a new option that wasn't there before called Edit Page. Right? Once we set up the page, we can go to Edit the Page. Oh, this is a blog. Sorry, I'm looking for the home page. We want to edit the home page. All right, so I'm on the home page. Edit front page. And now we get into the fun stuff, right? Because now we get into picking what the site's going to look like. For this, let's, you guys familiar with unsplash.com? Unsplash.com is a great place to get royalty-free images that are really high quality, really high resolution, and there are no strings attached to these images. You can use them as you please. And so they're really beautiful images that allow you to do some nice web design work without having to worry about where you're going to get all the images from. Now, they don't have all the images you want, obviously, but let's just go ahead and type business here and see what comes up as far as business images, and we'll use one of those for our home page. Boom, there we go. I'm sure you've seen a website that has an image something like this on it, right? So we'll just go ahead and download that. I'm going to go ahead and save image as desktop, quick build.
Is that on a post as well?
Yeah, you can use this inside of a post. You can use it on a blog. You can use these images anywhere you want, really. I'm actually going to, I wanted to cover this step, the download and creation of the image, because this is where a lot of people mess up, and this is where a lot of people create performance issues for their website. If you download this image, okay, this is a business background sample 1. If I download this image and I open this image and upload it directly to my website, it's going to be a huge image, right? Because it's really high resolution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this thing. Crap. I'm going to open this thing in Photoshop. File open. Desktop. Images. Boom. And if we look at it, it's a 1 megabyte file size, right? That's a massive picture. You'll slow down your web page load speed if you upload too many pictures like that, and that's a very common mistake. So what I'm going to do here, image size. Now, if you don't have a way to do this, a real simple way is upload the image to Facebook and then download it from Facebook. Facebook has a really good compression algorithm, and so if you want a really cheap way to just get an image optimized for web, upload it to Facebook and then re-download it. I'm going to set this to 1200 pixels wide. Let me constrain the proportions here. Was that a question, Ann, I saw up there?
Does this work with Lightroom too?
You can resize images in Lightroom. Yep, I just use Photoshop because I'm familiar with that. So, so I'm going to now resave this image, file, save as, the same file I just downloaded it, but now it's a little bit smaller image. I'll replace that. Okay. Oh crap. File, save as. I got to save it as the right file type. Okay. So let's go back into Chrome now. Where's our home edit page? All right. So a lot of these sites have front-end web building tools, okay? I'm going to go full screen here and jump into this web editing section. And for a big background image, I'm going to use something called a color section. Again, this is why we're going to get into some specifics of how Enfold works, but again, a lot of these front-end builders are fairly similar. Inside of here, I have options. So section background, I'm going to go ahead and insert image, right? Just like I upload any file anywhere else, I'm going to select that file from my computer, which is the one I just saved. Images. That's not the right one. That's the one. Open. Boom. Over here on the right, you see how that defaulted to medium, 300 by 300? Sometimes you'll upload an image and you'll wonder why inside the image it looks blown out, even though you know the image has the right resolution. When you upload an image to WordPress, it automatically creates, I don't know exactly how many, I think it's 6 or 8 versions of the image in different sizes. And so you have to go in here and tell it to use the full-size image, which we'll go ahead and insert that. And then I can typically pick, right, inside of here, how I want this to act, scroll, fixed, or parallax. And those are just visual effects, visual looks to what this image is going to do. I'm going to attach it to the center. The reason you attach it to different points is because of the way the screen responds. Again, these are just kind of customized the way the image looks and appears on screen. I'm going to stretch it to fit. So we're going to stretch to fit the whole image background. We'll click and save that. I'm going to update this just to show you what that did. I forgot one thing. On these color sections, you can pick the height, right? How big do I want this? For a masthead on a home page, I'm going to take up 75% of the browser and a little scroll down arrow. So I'm going to show you what all those options we just did are. We're going to hit update. and then reload the front page. All right, so now we're getting closer to a website with an image on the front end. Remember I told you guys we set up that transparent background? With a big image like this, sometimes you see some sites and you're like, man, I'd like to have maybe less of this white space up here, right? So on that page, let's close this big editor. On the side, I've got some settings here, layout, right? I got some layout settings. I'm gonna turn off my sidebar because on my home page and on my top level pages, I don't like having a sidebar. When I get into the internal pages of a website, I'm okay with having that sidebar again, but I want my focus when I'm building or on a home page, I want my focus to be on the main area of the page. I don't want people really spending a lot of time in a sidebar. So I'm gonna turn off that sidebar. I'm also gonna turn off the title bar setting. I'm gonna hide both of those. And you can do this inside of your enfold panel. You see where it says header here? I can turn that off across the whole website if I want. But again, that's just personally up to you whether you want those sections or not. So you can turn them off by page. In this instance, I'm just gonna turn them off on the one page here. Hide both. And then you see where it says header visibility here. I don't know if you guys can see that, header visibility and transparency. I'm gonna go ahead and click transparent header. And what that's gonna do is gonna pull my white logo into this. And now let's update that and see what that looks like. Boom, right? So now we're getting real close to like, you know, a nice sexy little front page where someone might land.
You said that Unsplash has too large a picture to use, and you went into Photoshop.
Yeah.
But then you also said that WordPress has an automatic.
Facebook. Facebook has a good resizing
Oh, I thought you said
algorithm.
that WordPress also has.
Facebook does. You can have a plugin that will resize your images, but if you're uploading 1 megabyte images on a regular basis, like you're just going to bog down your page load speed.
She needs the 6 or 8 images that WordPress creates that you mentioned.
The six.
Remember what? That's what she.
Well, WordPress automatically creates. So let's say I upload an image and it's 1200 by 800, right? Which is 1200 pixels wide by 800 pixels tall. WordPress is going to create a medium version of it, a small version of it, you know, 4 or 5 different sizes automatically. That doesn't actually resize the image. What that does is it, through a mathematical algorithm, it just says, here's these versions of it in this size. So sometimes it crops them, sometimes like it's not. That's not what you want to use to crop or modify those images.
In other words, I have to have Photoshop.
Well, there's lots of free photo editing software. I use Photoshop because that's what I'm familiar with. So there's lots of other places you can do that. That's why I also recommended Facebook, because Facebook's the easy way. You just go upload the image, you know, upload it privately, and then pull it back down. And you can even do a whole gallery, upload a gallery to Facebook, and then you pull them down individually, and now you have your images compressed, and they're, you know, super small, but they're still big images.
So if WordPress has changed the size of a photo, sometimes it'll take a head off and make it.
Sometimes if you, yeah, just the way it crops it. And that's why when you're positioning this background image, you can pick, do I want it to be stuck to the center? Do I want it to be stuck to the left corner, the right corner?
That's in the posts as well, right?
What's that?
It does that in the posts as well. If I posted something with a photo.
Sometimes, anytime you're,
Save image as, and then it,
yeah.
I see the head's gone.
Anytime that you're using, like if you're uploading a featured image or something, it depends on how the picture's scaled or what, like, that's one of the things that, like, being proficient with some kind of photo editing software is a real advantage, because then you can go in and you can kind of, you know, maybe I need to crop the image this way to make sure it doesn't do that, or I need a square version of the image. And again, that's why, you know, these fields are multifaceted in the skill set, that, you know, the people who are really good at this have a lot of different skills in different places, because, you know, they have the ability to create those assets and you know, do all those things. There's ways to hack it if you have any particular questions afterwards from image sizing, but I'm probably not good at that because I use Photoshop, and I know how to do that real quickly through there.
Thank you.
I didn't.
Quick question.
Yep.
Putting the background picture, is that a function of the theme? Is that why I don't see it?
Most, yeah. Everything we're doing from a styling standpoint is now theme-based,
Okay.
right? So a lot of these themes work the same way. A lot of these high-level themes work the same way, but they don't all have the settings in the same place. Okay, enfold here. I didn't install that. You see where it says general? Wait. No, it's in the header. I didn't assign the transparent logo. Transparency options, transparent logo upload. I already have it here, so I'm just going to click use image as logo, save all changes. I also have to set the transparency menu color. Save all changes. All right, so now when I refresh this home page, you should see, nope, the menu didn't. My logo's white at least. All right, edit page. We're going to put a header on this, so content element, special heading. Best fake website you've ever seen. I'm picking a heading style, right? So now I'm adding a heading text, right? So essentially I'm going to add a big headline to the top of that field. I'm going to say, let's show up in white. We don't need to really worry about any styling here, so we're just going to leave that centered. And I want to pick a big font. I want a big font size, so we're going to go like a 60 size font. Save. I want to do one thing to this image because of the color here. I'm going to grab my color again, my little purple that I'm using. Control C. And right, I have my background here, so I have my different tabs, but I have this section background overlay. I'm going to lay this kind of cranberry color at a very low opacity so that I can create some contrast on that page. And then I'm going to update that again. Let's see what that looks like. Boom. I don't know why the menu's not showing up white. Sometimes there's caching issues, right? So I'm not going to sit and play with that, but just we did make the settings white in there. Sometimes it could just be, it needs to be refreshed a couple times. What's that? Yeah, if I scroll, it's going to give you, it's going to go back to that white version. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another element underneath here. I'm going to show you, let's see, 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, right? So now I just divided that section into columns underneath there. And we're going to throw some icons in. Let's throw some image, right? So all the things I'm grabbing from up here are just different elements that I can put on the page, and these are just drag and drop. So if I want to drag an image, I just drag an image down there, I click on that file, and now I've got the opportunity to add an image. So I'm going to upload, I prepared 3 icons for this project. Icons. All right, so I'm going to install that icon. Medium's fine on that one. And I can pick, again with these, I can pick, do I want it to link to anything? Do I want a caption on top of it? Do I want it to animate? Let's add a little animation, okay? We'll add a little bottom to top animation so that when that loads, it'll kind of pop up there. Image styling, we don't want any image styling, so I'll take that off. Image hover effect, no, we don't want any of that stuff. So save. I'm actually going to delete these because I like to do a little cheat mode when I create an element, and I'll show you exactly why I'm going to do that here in a second. I'm going to add a header to this too, just to finish the icon here. This is a sample icon. Boom, on our left. All right. Now I'll show you the reason I did that is because I'm going to just duplicate this element. Right? So now all those little settings that I just created, instead of creating them 3 times over, I just create 1 time that element, and then I just duplicate that element 3 times. And then what I go in here is I'm just going to change this image. I just click on this and I upload the next one. Click Save. And I click on this one. And I click on the image and grab the next one, click Save. And now I've got my 3 icons in there. Let's click Update and see what that looks like. Best fake website you've ever seen. Now we've got 3 icons that roll down that you could put, again, whatever text you want inside of here. I want to jump into, because of time, we're going to jump into creating a contact form, and then I'm going to take you into a couple intricate layouts so you can see just some different variations, and we'll create a blog post. Actually, let's create a blog post first, and then we'll jump into some of that other stuff. Creating a blog post is identical to creating a page. So now we've got a basic framework for a website. I'm going to do one thing because the header color is bothering me right now. That's not going to let me do it, actually. No, that's not going to let me do it. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that right now. What did I say? Oh, we're going to add a post. So adding a post is identical to adding a page to WordPress from a process standpoint. So this is my sample post. In this theme, I have the option to use the advanced layout editor. You can do that. You may not want to do that. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and grab, let's see, this one I know has some text on it. I'm just going to grab a bunch of text so I can copy and paste it into here to use. If you haven't read this article, by the way, it's funny. 16 people you'll meet as a full-time Sarasota resident. Okay, so now I've got a post in here. Again, I'm just adding a bunch of text. When you create a post, there's a couple different things you're going to be able to add. One is a category, and the others are tags, right? So categories I have to create. So this one's going to be, let's say, about Sarasota. It's a Sarasota post, so I'll create that right here on the side and add new category. Later on, when I have a bunch of these categories, right, so if I go into another site, like if I edit this post inside of a different website, I'll show you that, you see there's a bunch of categories here on the side. So once you have your categories created, you can just kind of pick. And what this does is allows you to organize all that content. So I might have a bunch of posts about business. I might have a bunch of posts about sales. I might have a bunch of posts about marketing, right? And I want to be able to segment those posts. So this is how you would organize them, is by category. But then there's one other level, you can add tags, right? So this post has additional tags that again allow me to sort them. And I'll show you when you create these layouts why that becomes a value, is being able to sort that content. But for right now, let's just add this post. We created one tag, category Sarasota. This is going to be a tag. I'm going to add satire. And I'm going to add local news, whatever. It may not be that, but we're going to add those. Feature image, right? See where it says feature image here on the side? Every time I add a page or a post, I have the opportunity to add a feature image. All of these elements are drag and drop, right? I like to have my feature element at the top. So I always do that. I always grab that little box and bring it to the top so that I have my feature image right underneath my publish, so that I always make sure I'm adding a feature image to the post, right? Not like I'm going to forget it, but again, it's all about processes and replication. So I'm going to grab that. Sarasota, grab images, blog images, boom, open, set featured image. So now we have a featured image for this post. I've assigned it to a category. I've given it a tag. One thing we haven't done is any kind of SEO yet, right? So we added that SEO plugin at the beginning of this process. Now on the bottom of every page, I have this SEO element right here, okay? And what we're seeing at this bottom piece, this is what Google is going to display. This looks like a lot like a Google search result right here, right? When you search Google, you get the headline and you get a little description. So what this allows you to do is click right here and create that SEO title, that SEO page, right? So what you're going to do is, I like to grab just the heading, and that's what it defaults to. So you can just put the title there. You can add whatever you want. From an SEO standpoint, you're going to want the keyword to be in that title, and then the description, right? So this is a silly article about the people you might meet as a full-time Sarasota resident. Now, there's also another section, so I grabbed that meta description, and now you can see that's what that looks like here, right? Now you can also see, oh, I don't have it, my excerpt. I think I was saying before, if you don't have an option, you go to screen options here, and you see that drop down. So if ever you're on a tutorial or if you're trying to figure out something to do with WordPress and they're like, click on this button and you can't find that button on your screen, it's probably in your screen options. You have to go and click it. So I'll click Excerpt, and now when I close this, we'll go back to the bottom and I have this little Excerpt spot. What that is when you display the blogs on your front end, it'll display usually a little snippet of the article. If you don't fill that excerpt in, sometimes it'll grab like the first number of characters in your article, and that may not be what you want it to grab. So essentially this tells it what to display as a tease for that article, if you will. So now we've added the text, we've given it a name, we've added a feature image, we've added categories, we've added tags, we've done a little bit of SEO on this. I'm just going to hit publish.
Explain SEO and the little bit of SEO you just did.
Yeah,
And tags and slugs.
we can't jump into SEO in this conversation. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to improve Google's ability or any other search engine's ability to find the content you just created.
Yeah, I'm on that page that you're on my site, and I don't see the SEO.
Because you probably don't have the SEO plugin.
And that would add to my...
That adds the ability for you to add the page title, the meta description, the page slug. You won't usually edit the page slug in the SEO. You would do that in the permalink settings, which we're not going to get into today. Yeah, that Yoast SEO is a free plugin. You can pay for upgraded versions of it, but yeah, I use the free version on most.
You do it manually for each page.
Yeah, you do that manually in each page.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
If you want to use a tag that's not a main predominant theme of your article, but you know it's a main search word, can you use that tag even though it's not a...
You can. That has nothing to do with search, right? Like those tags, just because you tag it something doesn't mean Google's going to recognize those tags. Those tags are for you to use in WordPress when you display content. So I'm going to show you how, like, I'll go into my website and I'll show you how I display my blog and how I use those custom taxonomies. It's hard to explain here because I only have this one post we created, but I'll show you how you sort some of those. And we're right at time, so I'm going to have a couple. I'm going to go through a couple final things. Anyone who needs to leave or wants to leave is free to go. I'm going to go through a couple more things here, and then we'll wrap this up. So I want to show you now. We got that blog page, right? We made that blog post, and here's my sample post that shows up on my blog. Now, I may not like how this looks, right? It's displaying the whole blog on my blog page. So again, I go back to my enfold settings, and I've got right here a blog layout structure, right? So I'm going to click, I want the elegant style theme, blog layout. I'm going to use the grid layout, or I can use the advanced layout editor to style my own blog page, but for speed purposes, I'm going to use the grid. And then that's about all I need to edit. Again, there are more options here that you can play with, but for that, we're not gonna mess with it too much. So now if I refresh this page, it should give me a grid layout with my posts there, right? So now this looks a little nicer. You know, I can see my specific posts here. The about page you would create just like the home page, right? Like we would style these pages. I want to get into, let's look at this site, because this site's got some nice looking pages here. I'm going to show you what the about page of this site looks like on the back end, so you can see how intricate those layouts can get. So this is what the page looks like on the front end, right? We've got some interesting elements that kind of overlap each other. We've got the team, we've got some team elements. We've got some interactive, right? We've got a little calendar that pulls here, and we've got these initiatives. These are all pulling post types, right? So these are blogs, these are portfolio elements. Calendar events are just post types. So now what I want to do is I want to show you what that page looks like on the inside. So you can see, just like we had on our home page, we've got this color section at the top, right? This just got a background, and we've got a header text in here, and we just dropped the video right in the middle of the page. Right, again, we've got these little column elements that we can drag and drop and resize these elements. If I wanted that video to be bigger, I can make that video bigger. I can make it full screen, whatever I want, right? So it's very simple to just move these elements around. Do I want that? Maybe I want the video outside of that screen, okay? I want the video up here. So I can just drag these elements and put them wherever I want inside of this page. I got a little undo button in case I Don't like what I just did. And now again, we're going to jump through. We've got another color section. I've divided this up into a grid. And all I have here are just text sections with a little image. Text section with a little image, text section with a little image, right? In 3 different columns. On the elements where I have it split up here, right? And the elements where we have these sections split in half, they work just like the big sections, right? Just like the big background images. So those are these sections down here. You see this blank one right here. If I click inside of it, it's just got the background image. I just pick where and how I want that background image to appear. And then right next to it, I just put my text with the button, right? So all this comes down to once you get to where we are here, like we did all the hard work. This here now just comes to like moving images and moving text around and creating these little containers that allow you to put these elements for the team, right? Like these are team member elements. So I just drag the team member element to where I want it on the page. I upload a picture and put the person's name, their title, right? And all I'm doing is following the prompts on these boxes. And that's why some of these themes are really powerful, because you don't have to worry about styling all these individual components. The thing does it for you. I just create these boxes, again, columns, and now I have the ability to drag these things into them, right? And again, here's this masonry element. So once you have 4 or 5 blogs, 10, 15, 25 blogs, you can start displaying that content in real interesting ways. So this element right here is this piece on the left, right? This masonry grid. So all this is doing is displaying blog posts. I just have them set up in a grid, right? So if I go into this guy here, I'm pulling that category. Remember, we assigned things to categories. So if you look in this box, I'm telling it that I want to pull by category all of the posts that are initiatives. So all of the posts that are in this box right here are different initiatives that I've labeled as initiatives. And so I just tell the software, pull all of these initiatives, no sort options. I want 9 posts in 3 different columns, and no option to view additional entries, create a perfect grid. Click OK, and it does all the magic for me, right? It puts them in that spot. This right here is one of those widgets, right? This is an event widget. We talked about some of the widgets and plugins. So this right here, if I come into this, upcoming events. So this is just one of my elements at the top here, plugin add-ons, upcoming events, you know? And so I literally just drag that down into the section, and I tell it what kind of events do I want to display. I want to display them from these, again, category or tag, right? From what taxonomy am I pulling them from? And how many do I want to display? I want to display 10. Pagination just says, can I load more, right? Do you want me to be able to load more? So once you have those pages laid out, the last thing I would like to do is just create a real quick contact page. I just like go in and create a form on that contact page. Are you guys good on time if we go and run through just creating a form? Yeah. Okay. You'll see, I do this very often. You'll see how many tabs I now have open at the top of my screen, right? That's probably not the best like workflow for a lot of this stuff. I do like to have multiple tabs open, because what'll happen is like I'll keep one on this end fold, like on the themes panel, right? So if I'm making modifications, I'll keep one tab open on my themes panel. I'll keep one tab open. I won't do anything with this. I'll keep one tab open on my, just like a dashboard, so that I can always have access to these links here. And then I'll just kind of bounce around, and as it gets out of hand, I just start closing tabs. But yeah, what you want to make sure you don't do is have a bunch of tabs open and have the same tab open twice, and you're editing your home page on both screens. And let's say you make a modification on one page, you update that, and then you go to the wrong tab and you start making modifications on a different page. When you upload that, it's going to undo everything you just did over here, right? So that's the only reason I bring that up, is making sure that when you're working on that workflow, that you're not necessarily, you know, duplicating your effort or hurting yourself in that regard. So let's go to our contact page. Very simple page layout here. We'll just click Edit Page. One thing I want to do first, let's go create the form first. So we installed that Forms plugin. So anytime you install a Forms plugin, you're going to get a new post type on the left side of your navigation screen. So we're just going to go here to New Form. Keep background updates enabled. Next.
So that makes info is a paid.
Paid theme? Yes, yes. Okay. All right. So let's create the first form. We're going to call this contact form. Create form. There are some free form building plugins. I still think there's a free version of Gravity Forms, but they may have changed that, so I may be telling you something that's wrong. There may not be a free form version of this. I like Gravity Forms because of the functionality, the ease of use. It's drag and drop, and it integrates with everything. So if you're going to scale your website out, there are a lot of other free form builders. I default to Gravity Forms just because of the functionality you can get from it. So this works just like building a page. You have your fields on the left here, though, and then you have your area I'm sorry, you have your fields on the right. Everything's on the left here. Contact form, we're going to allow them to put their name in, right? We probably want to grab an email. Hello, you can do it. All right, we're going to grab an email, and we're going to create a real simple one. We're just going to give them a box to fill out a message, right? When you create this form, you can set requirement rules. So I'm going to require that they give me a name. They will not be able to submit this form without a name or an email, okay? And then we'll just call this message. And you can get as complicated as you want with this, right? You can add checkboxes and drop downs and all sorts of different fields to this, however complicated you want to make your form, right? For time's sake, and just because it's a simple contact form, we're going to leave this fairly simple here. Okay. So we have a name, email, message. I'm going to also require them to actually have to leave a message. You can't skip that step. And then update form. All right, so now our form's created. That was it. Super easy. You can come in here to settings and confirmations, and you can decide what happens when a person completes the form, redirect them to a page, send an email. You can do all that stuff. We won't necessarily go into that. Maybe in one of our future, we'll go into a deep dive into creating more nuanced forms or customized forms. What we need to do now is display that form in a page, right? Which is super simple. Again, I'm going to grab a content element here. I'm going to create a heading because this is my contact page. So contact us, all right? Heading 3, that's fine. Modern left. And then I'm going to put a little subheading below it that says, we would love to hear from you.
Does SummaMe have the same thing?
I
have pop-ups on mine, and that's what it comes up to get the email and contact.
Yeah, so SummaMe has some subscription tools. I don't know that SummaMe would replace your form builder. SummaMe is good for like grab an email, like if you're just getting people to sign up for an email list or something, that's perfect. If you want people to like be able to send you a message, or if you're doing something a little different, you're going to want an actual form plugin to do that. So go ahead and save that. Then I grab a text block, okay? So I'm going to grab a text block and drop it down here. And you'll see I have an option. This is one of the other reasons I love Gravity Forms, because it works everywhere with everything. Oh, crap, hang on a second. I'm going to have to refresh the page because I was on this page before I created that form. So update. What happened was I had this page open before I went and created that form, right? So when I went and created that form, this page hadn't updated to let me know that I had created that form. So now in this text block, if I click that same button, it should give me a contact form from the drop-down. That's why that option wasn't there before, because I hadn't refreshed the page. Insert form, get rid of this, save, update, and then if we view this page, we would love to hear from you, name, email, message, submit. You have a contact form now. Real quickly, if you ever want to customize these sidebars, right? These are your widgets. So you can go in here to your widget section, and you see this displayed everywhere. That's a sidebar that's displayed everywhere. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. And then I'm just going to put a, let's see, let's put a Facebook like box in there. Sure, people like to have that. Okay, we'll save that. Latest news. Okay, let's display it everywhere. Let's add the widget. This is going to show our, again, we can pick what category. We're going to show Sarasota posts. We'll display 6 of them, even though we only have 1 post on this page. Click Save. And now, I don't know if that's saved. I think it did, but let me make sure. Now if I go back out to my, oh, that's right, we got rid of the sidebar here. We go to the, back to the contact page. Now we've got my little like box. You just added a like box, and now you have your post here. So again, that widgets section can be customized. Plugins have different widgets. There's all sorts of different functionality you can add to your sidebar. I feel like there's a super crash course, and I wonder about you guys' ability to actually like pull things away from this. So I don't want to dump anything else at this point. However, at this point, I mean, we can see all we need is content. So ideally, you guys would have an idea of what content you want on these pages, and now it just comes down to arranging it on the pages. But we've got a shell of a website here. You know, we've got everything you need to be up and running a basic website, and we did it in just over an hour. Right? We started at 12:08, I think, is
You
when
hadn't been talking and you just sat down and did it.
Yeah, and exactly. If I run through this and I just do this, it literally, it's, you know, and that's not to say that you guys need to do that, right? There's no need, like, unless you're going to start a career in creating these kind of websites. But when this video's out, hopefully you guys can go back and you guys can watch it, and maybe even if you just take something away from what you're doing with your website, it allows you to just start playing, right? It gives you a step 1 to what your web presence can be. You know, from here you can build out, do whatever you want. And maybe what we need to do is, well, I can leave this here. There's no cost to me to have this here on my hosting plan. If you guys want, we can continue to work in and on this, right? So next month we can maybe dive deeper into designing a landing page, right? And maybe we can add e-commerce. So you guys tell me what functionality you guys would like to keep adding to this site, and maybe that way you guys can catch up with what we did today on your own site. I can try to answer any questions or help you guys get to that place, and then we can slowly just keep building these sites out as a group, if that's something you guys are interested in doing. Is there anything you guys would like to see? I think,
I have a question.
Yep.
When I'm on Facebook, sometimes I will click on reading something, and if the complete article isn't there, and you click on see more or whatever it is, and you're automatically sent to their blog or their webpage. Is that something then that I have to do on my webpage to get that to happen, or how
No.
does that occur?
No, you would just then copy a link, you know, like, so I would just come to my blog, and let's see what happens. This is a sample, this is the sample post we created for this, right? So let's go to Facebook and see what happens when I paste that URL, test post. It should grab the image in my sample blog, and so,
I don't know what you just did.
yeah, I just went to Facebook and copied the URL. I literally just pasted the URL from this page here. All right, so from the website we just created, this is my sample post. All right, so from this page right here, I just grabbed this URL.
So if they want to continue reading it at the end,
It's just going to click that link that'll open that page up. Yep.
What I found when I've done that, you know, a lot of people don't realize you hit the URL to go to the article. It's not, you know, a lot of people aren't proficient in doing that. So you almost have to take it with a Facebook. I've been using the SummaMe Facebook on a post that I'll make, and that's how I get it to Facebook. And if they click on the article, even the picture takes them to the article.
Right. Well, that's what this is. Yeah. Facebook will create that little widget that is the image and a link to this.
But if you click on the image, it won't take you to the.
Oh, yeah, well.
Well, it never would work with mine.
Huh.
You have to click on the URL.
Yeah. It depends on if you just upload an image and then paste the link. If Facebook auto generates this is a snippet that's pulling from your open graph, your social graph information. So WordPress, that information that we set up in the SEO section, that's what this is right here. And this is that featured image. So that's where that stuff pulls from. And so Facebook will automatically populate that stuff. If you don't have that, it may not pull an image, and then if you upload an image, it'll just upload an image post, and then clicking on that would not open that for you. I think that's where we're going to stop today. I know that's where we're going to stop.